Hello and welcome to Kachwerke and another ranty rant. So the previous videos have been about Spotify. They've been about all sorts of things. Slight hypocrisies in YouTube land, things like that. The next one is probably a bit more important, and it revolves around the consumer mainly, because at the end of the day, if you want to record, if you want to bring out music, art, movies, if you start a new business, doesn't matter what you do, it is in fact at the end of the day the public that have to fork out the cash and support you. So here's a couple of questions more than accusations. Slightly off topic from guitar stuff, but relevant in the grand scheme of things, I feel. Why is it that if somebody in your neighborhood, a friend or an acquaintance or family member starts a small business, why is it that nobody supports them? Why is it that there's a certain amount of people who give them negativity about why you're trying to do your own business? Why don't you get a job? Isn't it a bit scary to run your own business? All this negativity around it. Then when they run their own business, let's say it's a pub or a restaurant or a little shop or whatever, that immediately people go, oh, maybe I can get like mates rates here, or maybe I can, get a freebie here. Instead of supporting that person by going to buy your stuff from him as much as you can and spreading the word. Why is it that when you post a shitty meme of a cat that you've seen 100 times before, you get 50,000 likes? When you share your album that you've just released, good or bad, nobody gives a fuck, right? Why is it when somebody does something creative or something personal, something that they want to bring out, they just don't get the support? Now the question here is not, my reasoning, how do I put this? I don't really care if whatever the person brings out is good or bad. That's an entirely different story. My question is, why is there no support for that? I've mentioned the whole Spotify issue earlier on, that people have all these complaints about it, but why is it that people in bands only play for the other bands that are playing that night and their girlfriends or boyfriends? Why is local music, why are bands not better supported? Takes nothing, it's a nice night out, for example. Why is it that local businesses are not really supported by their peers, their friends and their family? And then what happens is that we are always, because that happens, we're always at the mercy of advertising and the big companies. So somebody will not go down to town to quickly shop at a local guitar store, but they will buy it for a bit cheaper on Amazon. And then complain because the wee guy that runs a shop is a little bit more expensive. The classic scenario. I mean, I'm not saying anything new here. We all know this. The guitar shops are dead. A lot of the high streets are dead because of it. And they blame corporations. It's not the corporations that decide to go shop there. The corporations are just businesses that make it easy for people. The Amazons and so on. I click on something on a Saturday night and it's with me on the Sunday morning. So why wouldn't I do it? But here's the problem that creates and why it's such a bad idea. Firstly, over-consumerism, which has all sorts of impacts. It has impacts to the economy, local economy. It has huge environmental impacts, job impacts. Low-paced jobs are basically the thing that's left. Small businesses, which are the main employers, struggle. If you want to, then actually, if you are the consumer and you want to return stuff, you've got the problem. You've got nowhere to go to. You've got all this backwards and forwards with emails and shit. So it actually creates a lot more problems just because of convenience. I don't want to get into the car, don't want to drive down there, don't have time, all that nonsense. But the reason I mentioned Spotify in this is because there's a huge criticism on the likes of Spotify's and streaming services that don't pay artists enough. don't treat them fairly, why they make a lot of money. But I brought out an album a month ago or so, and I don't really care if people like it or not. I care that my people that I know, a huge group of people that are on Facebook, on different social media channels, don't get behind it and share it. Not because they like it, but to get the word out. And if they don't like it, that's fine. I mean, I can't make people like what I do, but I can't expect a certain help to get the word out there, because if they don't do it, there's no other way to do it. And why wouldn't they? I mean, they would share everything else that you post if it's a bit funny or weird. So why wouldn't they share something slightly personal to you? It's an odd one. And so to a lot of things, I like to blame the consumer. People blame newspapers, getting out misinformation, but at the end of the day, somebody's buying that newspaper and not applying any critical thinking to what's written in there. Listen to Fox News and all this kind of shit. You know, my biggest, I mean, it shows you how people think. You know, the biggest proven liar, racist, megalomaniac, pseudo dictator, wife cheater, paid for sex person is, to some Christians, one like the new big thing. It's like, it shows you that people are fucking thick as pig shit, right? Not going to name names, but we all know who we're talking about. In the UK, we've got the same problem with the whole Brexit issue. People just believe in shit, follow the crowd, follow whoever's in the pub with them, follow their friends, follow their echo chambers. No critical thinking apply. But unfortunately, that is not only in politics. It goes through all sets of life. People complain about the state of music. Yeah, if you only listen to radio or what's in the charts, you've got a lot to complain about. If you did a bit of digging in social media circles and YouTube, you'll find a hell of a lot of good stuff. You know, if you want to buy something, you want to play with it first, you know, go to a fucking guitar shop. Don't buy it on Amazon and send it back if you don't like it. And that's why I've got such a massive problem with Axe Effects and the Kempers and things like that, because it's not new technology. It is copied technology. It is something that the digital age has made possible, but it is not new. It's all old amps that they modeled and sounds that they create, that things that were physically we loved. Tube amps, valve amps, different types of speakers. So it's not new. It's literally just a Xerox, a way of copying it and making it cheaper for the consumer. So instead of me having to buy 10 amps, I buy the Axe Effects and I've got all of them. And in a way, I don't really mind that much. I use Amplitude, but most of their stuff's licensed. That means the original creators probably get some sort of kickback, which is, to me, just absolutely logical. But if you look at the Kemper situation, you know, I can literally buy a Kemper and then start buying amps and cabs and returning them the next day, because by that time I've already copied them. And that is just such a consumerist way of thinking about it. You are destroying jobs and businesses, and there's no integrity behind it at all. And just because the likes of the Axe Effects, I don't know if they're licensed, so please don't shoot me dead, but if all their model stuff is, you know, the original owners get some kickback, I'm fine with that. I've got a video about the Kemper, which I really go into more details of why I really feel that, you know, copying things like that is just not on. The Kemper is not the problem, is how people use it. For example, I'm not going to diss the Kemper, but I will diss the way that people will end up using it, because that's how people are. They will copy shit and they will put amps back, you know, and, you know, they lose all the feeling and the integrity behind something, all the effort that was made behind something, and it just becomes a norm. Okay, you can have this expensive thing now, no questions asked. And that relates to the consumer problem that we have, and that's why there's so much plastic running around. That's why we overconsume. That's why we buy a new car every couple of years. We're just not happy with something, it's cheap enough, so let's get it. Anyway, that's a rant. The same goes for music and stuff like that. We're so bombarded with shit music that I think a lot of people don't even bother, because it taps their toes, because it sounds good and, you know, it's happy. They don't bother looking any further. So anyway, that's another 10-minute video, which I wanted to be like 5 minutes. But anyway, thank you very much.